Did you really think I wouldn't make a video on the single biggest gun ban of our lives? An unconstitutional ATF rule that will turn up to 40 million Americans into felons within the next 4 days. Stay tuned. All right, guys, Pistol Packin' Pilot is back. We have an absolute shit show on our hands. Joe Biden went to the ATF and he asked the ATF to ban pistol braces. As you may or may not know, the basic history behind the pistol brace is it was originally created for veterans with disabilities so that they could strap the gun to their arm so they would be able to use the weapon properly. Gun grabbers are looking at that as a workaround to bypassing the unconstitutional $200 tax stamp that's required currently for a short-barreled rifle under the NFA, which is the National Firearms Act of 1934. Gun grabbers are also alleging that short-barreled rifles and braced pistols are more deadly. Basic fact here, guys. A bullet coming out of a 16-inch, which is the legal length, a 16-inch rifle barrel, is going to have a much higher muzzle velocity than a bullet coming out of a 9 or a 10 or an 11-inch rifle barrel, given the fact that the two cartridges are identical, based solely on barrel length, with that being the only variable. So the fact that they say a braced pistol and short-barreled rifles are more deadly is 1,000% completely false. In January, the ATF made a rule. That's correct, a rule, not a law, but a rule. Now, I know that Congress has given the ATF authority to regulate. I understand that, but there's a difference between regulating and becoming tyrannical. They made a rule that is going to result in the single biggest gun ban that we will have ever seen in our lives. Some of the low estimates say that there's 4 million braced pistols, and on the high end, there's an estimated 40 million braced pistols. I would think that the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. I think it's very fair to say that there's probably at least 15 million Americans out there who own pistols with a brace. And the majority of those 15 million Americans have no idea that this is coming. They have no clue. Obviously, there's a lot of Americans that watch YouTube and they may know, but the majority of gun owners do not. The majority of gun owners are clueless that this tyrannical regulation change is coming down the pipe. And when the ATF made this rule, they said there would be a 120-day amnesty period. That amnesty period, my friends, ends on May 31st. Now, here's a fun fact. Conveniently, there's something else that is happening at the exact same time on June 1st. Within 24 hours of each other. Congress must come to an agreement on our debt so as not to default by June 1st. Here's the problem. Congress right now is overwhelmed with talks of raising the debt ceiling. This pistol brace thing is being pushed to the back burner, and I don't believe this is a coincidence. This is probably going to happen. I personally believe, and keep in mind I'm filming this video on Tuesday night, so it's a very fluid situation. You'll probably be watching this video on Saturday. So a lot can happen in the 5 days from when I film it to when I actually publish it on YouTube. But I personally think nothing is going to happen to stop this. Now, do I believe they're going to be able to leave pistol braces banned indefinitely? I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to get overturned. However, I do think on May 31st, 15, 20 million, potentially more Americans are going to be turned into felons overnight.
Just like the bump stocks.
For a piece of plastic that has been legal for a decade. A piece of plastic that was originally designed for Americans with disabilities. Now let's get to the fun stuff. So to make this rule, one of the first things that the ATF did was they changed the definition of a rifle. 27 CFR 478.11 defines a rifle as a weapon designed or redesigned, made or remade, and intended to be fired from the shoulder, and designed or redesigned and made or remade to use the energy of an explosive to fire only a single projectile through a rifled bore for each single pull of the trigger. And then, of course, they came out with this tyrannical rule, and there are essentially 5 ways to comply. Now, before we get to the 5 ways to comply, let me give you a disclaimer. I do not care, and I will not fault you in any way, shape, or form for which method you choose. There's also a 6th option, but we'll talk about that later. Because you are an American who is supposed to be free, and you should have the freedom to choose whatever you like. And it's not my position to judge you for what you decide to do. That being said, here are the 5 ways to comply according to the ATF. Number 1, remove the short barrel and attach a 16-inch or longer rifled barrel to the firearm. Number 2, permanently remove and dispose of or alter the stabilizing brace such that it cannot be reattached. We're going to come back to that one in a minute. Number 3, turn the firearm into your local ATF office. Number 4, destroy the firearm. Or number 5, register the firearm tax-free by May 31st, 2023. Let's back up and talk about these. The ATF director testified under oath that you would not have to destroy, dispose, or alter the stabilizing brace. He testified to Congress under oath that all you need to do is separate the business end of the gun from the plastic stabilizing brace. That's it. And the ATF would not come after you and say that you intended later on to reattach them. As long as they're separated and they're not touching each other, he said you would be fine. But that's not what the damn rule says. The rule says permanently remove and dispose of or alter the stabilizing brace such that it cannot be reattached. So essentially, you would have to destroy the brace. That's the way that I read that. Then, of course, we get to turn it into your local ATF office, destroy the gun, or register the firearm tax-free by May 31st, 2023. Make no mistake, option number 5 is a national gun registry. You are adding yourself onto the list. Obviously, there's a 6th option. I said we'd talk about that later, but I lied. I'm not going to talk about that later. We all know what the 6th option is. So far, I've heard numbers of 150,000 to 250,000 Form 1s have been filed. So that's a lot registering their firearms, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot when you consider how many of these braced pistols are still out there. Guys, I really think that the ATF is a 3-ring circus. It is an absolute shit show right now. Either the ATF director intentionally lied under oath, or he has no clue as the director of his own agency of what he's talking about. One of those 2 things happened. And clearly, I think we all know what the most likely thing is. He lied under oath to Congress. And I do believe that the ATF is going to be looking to make an example out of somebody. This is going to be a battle that I think is going to be waged in the courts for quite some time. I really hope that I'm wrong. This could theoretically be the single biggest gun ban that we will have seen in our lifetimes. Up to 40 million of these things are out there, guys. How many of those 40 million do you think have been turned in? I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably virtually none. And we know that 150 to 250,000 Form 1s have been filed to turn them into an SBR. Okay, so that still leaves, potentially over 39 million of these braced pistols out there. How many tens of millions of Americans will become felons at 12:01 a.m. on June 1st? What will you do? Will you become a felon on June 1st? I don't want an answer to that question. That's only something that you can decide. All I'm doing is bringing the news to you. I'm just letting you know what the ATF is saying, and I am letting you know how serious this is going to get. And just so we're all clear and on the same page, it is a felony punishable by up to 10 years in federal prison. Scary times we're living in, guys. Very, very scary times. Guys, we need to get the word out there, so please share this video. Please hit the like button and subscribe to try to defeat the anti-gun YouTube algorithm. Videos that have anything to do with firearms are never something that YouTube likes to promote. Thanks for watching, guys. I am the Pistol Packing Pilot, and I am out. See ya.